The agility perk tier list for Fallout 4. Oh, wow. Okay. So, agility in Fallout 4. Let's go over the perks and how good or bad they are. Alright, starting with Gunslinger. This scales your pistol damage and eventually increases the range and gives you a chance to disarm and cripple a limb. So pistols overall are decent. I would say this is A tier. You can run pistols. Plasma pistol comes to mind as like a kind of end game pistol that's quite good in real time. But yeah, it's really good. A tier. Pretty simple, straightforward damage scaling perk. Commando. So in the base game with no mods, most automatic weapons are bad, and all the good ones actually fall under heavy gunner. So in the case of the laser Gatling, that's actually affected by heavy gunner, not commando. In the base game with no mods, commando I would say is B tier. With mods that slightly adjust the automatic weapons that give them like a little bit of damage scaling, it actually is A tier, so B tier. You consume too much ammo, and overall it's not like the best. Spray and pray is quite good, but you specifically need to run spray and pray in order to get value from this. So, or something like spray and pray, like if you get like a legendary automatic weapon with the AoE 15 damage on impact, then that's fine. But otherwise, like in general, it's B tier. Sneak, I would say this is A tier. This is quite good. Being able to scale your damage from sneak attacks is strong. This is viable in VATS and VATS-less playthroughs, so just really strong, A tier. Mr. Sandman, I'm going to put this at A tier as well. It forces you to use a silenced weapon, which isn't really a downside. You just have to have access to silenced weapons. But it basically just scales your sneak attack damage with silenced weapons, which is quite strong. And when combined with sneak and ninja is pretty powerful, so definitely A tier. Action girl / action boy, A tier for VATS builds. For real time, I wouldn't run this, but for VATS builds, it's A tier. So in the case you're actually using this, it's quite good. It just scales your VATS, your AP regen, which is incredibly, it's essential. You want it. You want AP regen for a VATS build, regardless. Moving targets, I'm going to put this at B tier. If it gave you better damage reduction, I would say it's A tier, but it's just kind of like a decent utility. Now, it can get you some extra armor while sprinting, which can help to increase your tankiness, because you're generally not going to be getting hit as much while sprinting if you move in a way that is harder to, you're harder to hit, but overall it's okay. It's not bad. And then the reduction in sprinting is pretty nice for real time, so I would say overall it's B tier. Ninja, I'm going to put at S tier. So this is insane. This ability, especially with a VATS sneak build, getting Blitz ninja 10 times damage attacks out of sneak is incredibly broken, and also just using this in general, like hitting these fat multipliers will drastically it'll make the game really easy. If you use a bazooka, even with no sneak investment at all, and you just run ninja maxed out, you can just bazooka a group of enemies and kill them all with a single missile, because you'll do 3 times damage. You'll deal like 1,000 something damage and kill them in one shot. And you can shoot like 2 or 3 missiles, because the bazooka can get the quad core and the tri-barrel and rapidly shoot them all. So you can just shoot a barrage of missiles. If you do it correctly, you can shoot like missiles at different targets while in sneak mode before aggro hits, and all the missiles will hit around the same time and kill multiple groups of enemies in a single like well-placed barrage. So Ninja is insane. It's S tier. Quick hands, reload guns faster, and real time is okay, but getting 8 agility in real time is a bad idea. So this is basically something you would run with like some kind of VATS build. Reloading for free in VATS is quite strong, giving you 10 extra action points. You would eventually get this. This is B tier. If any VATS build wants to get this after your build is complete and you have all the perks you need, because getting 10 extra action points in a VATS build is extremely useful. Having more VATS attacks is something you want, so B tier just for that. The reload is decent, but you want the action points in a VATS build. Blitz, S tier. It makes melee insane. Sneak melee is insane. There's not really too much to say about this. The second rank is even more insane, so S tier. Gun Fu, S tier. You can target a bunch of dudes and queue up your attack, so you can start off by shooting the weakest enemies in a group, and then as you gun Fu to the harder enemy, you can even dump more attacks into them. So you could just use like, some kind of weapon that costs low AP, queue up like 3 or 4 attacks on weaker enemies, and then eventually get your damage scaling Like if you make your final target, your 5th target and beyond, like a boss, you can just crit. You can just keep critting them. So it's insane. It's S tier for a VATS gun build for sure. Outside of that, it's useless, but it only works on guns too. So, all right. So agility has some of the most broken perks in the game, definitely. Gunslinger is, so let's recap. So Gunslinger A tier, Commando B tier. With mods, it's easily A tier. Mods that just bump SMGs up a little bit, not like a ton, like an extra couple points of damage. Actually makes them quite good. Sneak A tier, really good. Mr. Sandman A tier. Action Girl and Action Boy A tier for VATS builds. Moving Target B tier can be useful. It's good in real time, but having 6 agility in real time is not a good idea unless you're running sneak attacks. So Ninja S tier for damage scaling. Just going over like using it with Blitz melee or rocket builds is quite insane. So S tier. Quick Hands B tier, mostly for the extra 10 action points for VATS builds. And outside of that, reloading guns faster could be kind of useful. Blitz, S tier. It's incredibly broken. Teleporting to enemies, meleeing them. When you use a VATS attack, you have like a 90% damage reduction. So when you blitz to an enemy, you can literally tank like a rocket at point blank, and they will kill themselves with the rocket very likely, or damage themselves. I distinctly recall tanking a mini nuke when I was using a blitz build on one of my characters, and I was like shocked because I wasn't aware of the damage reduction. And I was like, how did I survive that? And I was like, oh, damage reduction of VATS. So S tier, and then Gunfu, S tier. The crits thing is insane. The damage scaling is really good. 50% more damage and a crit. So like if you queue this up on like a bunch of weak enemies and then have your final VATS attacks being on like some boss, this is insane. You can get guaranteed crits with damage scaling, so it's very strong with the gun VATS build. So yeah, that's my agility perk tier list. Thanks for checking this out, and I will see you in the final luck video.